never imagined how one night could change the entire course of my life. My name is Emily Harper, and my son, Jacob Harper, had always been the center of my world. He was 22 now, tall, kind, and full of that unshakable optimism that had always made me proud. Life had been steady, even predictable, until that night arrived like a sudden storm I never saw coming. Jacob had recently graduated from college and moved back home temporarily while searching for a job. Our house, a cozy two-story home in suburban Ohio, had always been full of laughter, but lately, the house felt quieter. The constant hum of adult responsibilities and Jacob's job hunt made me feel a little lonely, though I would never admit it aloud. That evening, I had prepared dinner as usual. The smell of roasted chicken and fresh bread filled the house, and I was humming softly while setting the table. Jacob came in a little later than expected. He looked tired, but his eyes lit up when he saw me. "Hey, Mom," he said, dropping his bag by the door. "Smells amazing in here." I smiled at him, feeling a warmth in my chest I had always felt when he complimented my cooking. "Thanks, honey. I thought we could have a nice dinner together tonight." Jacob nodded, sitting down at the table, and I served him with a smile. We ate and talked about his job applications, the city, and his friends. It was an ordinary night, one I thought would pass like any other, but a knock at the door changed everything. I opened the door to find Michael, one of Jacob's old friends from college. He looked nervous but relieved. "Hey, Emily," he said, glancing past me toward Jacob. "Can I come in? I really need someone to talk to." Jacob immediately stood, his face showing concern. "Michael?" "Yeah, come in, man." As Michael stepped inside, I noticed the tension in his shoulders. He wasn't the same carefree guy from college. Something had happened, and the worry in his eyes told me it was serious. We all settled in the living room. Michael began explaining that he was dealing with a personal crisis, something he hadn't been able to handle alone. He didn't give all the details, but the fear and vulnerability were clear. Jacob offered him support, and I couldn't help but feel proud of the man my son had become. He had always been compassionate, even when he was just a kid. The night went on, and we talked, laughed, and occasionally fell into long, thoughtful silences. At some point, the conversation drifted to life choices, regrets, and the future. Michael's presence stirred memories in me, memories of when Jacob was little, his first day at school, his soccer games, the moments I had cherished quietly. At some point, Jacob excused himself to get more drinks. Michael turned to me and said, "Emily, I don't know why, but I feel like I can trust you with this. I've never felt this comfortable with anyone." His words startled me. I had always been a listener, a motherly figure, but his trust felt deeper, more fragile than usual. I nodded gently. "You can talk to me, Michael. Whatever it is, I'll listen." And then, as the evening stretched on, a strange shift happened. Michael, exhausted from his own struggles, fell asleep on the couch. Jacob returned and noticed him. "Poor guy. He's been through a lot," he said quietly. I agreed, but in that quiet moment I realized something about my own feelings. I had always thought of Jacob as my son, someone I would protect forever. But seeing him as an adult, hearing the way he talked about life and responsibility, I saw him in a new light, not as a child, but as a man who had grown beyond my understanding. It was confusing and unexpected. I spent the rest of the night reflecting. I sat in the kitchen, the dishes done, thinking about how quickly time had passed. Jacob came in with a cup of coffee for me and smiled. "Mom, you okay?" he asked gently. I nodded, though my mind was racing. "Yeah, I'm okay," I replied. It wasn't anything that could be described as inappropriate. Rather, it was a realization, a deep, emotional understanding that my son was no longer a child. He was someone I needed to respect as an adult, as his own person, not just as my son. That night, I felt a mix of pride, nostalgia, and a touch of melancholy. The mother-son bond had shifted subtly, irrevocably. The next morning, Michael had left, and life began returning to its normal rhythm. But I carried that night with me, the quiet moments, the revelations, and the new understanding of Jacob as a man. I realized I had to adjust my perspective to give him the space and freedom he deserved while still being his mother. It wasn't easy. Old habits die hard. I found myself worrying about him, making his favorite meals, reminding him to dress warmly, or checking about his interviews. But now there was a balance. I learned to treat him with the respect an adult deserved while maintaining the care only a mother could give. Jacob noticed the subtle shift too. He began confiding more in me, sharing his worries, hopes, and even failures, trusting that I would not judge but guide him. And I did, quietly and lovingly. That night had changed everything, not in a dramatic way, but in the way a tide slowly reshapes a shore, softly, persistently, and irrevocably. Years later, I would look back on that night as a turning point. My relationship with Jacob evolved into something deeper and more mature, rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and love. The bond between mother and son had grown, not weaker or distant, but transformed into a partnership of hearts, where guidance and independence coexisted harmoniously. That night taught me that love changes with time. It adapts. It grows. And sometimes, it surprises you in the quietest, most profound ways. I still see Jacob as my son, but I also see him as the incredible man he has become, a man whose journey I am proud to witness and support, without holding him back or clinging to the past. Life is unpredictable, and some nights leave marks that shape the future. That night was one of those nights for me, a night that quietly, subtly, and beautifully changed everything.